everyone. I'm Josiah and I'm a ministry intern here at Grandview with particular focus on our church plant, Heritage Grace Church. And I just wanted to give you an update on where I'm at in this whole situation since I don't get to see you very often anymore. So I'm a pretty optimistic person. I don't tend to get beaten down by things too often, and I tend to have a fairly positive outlook on most things. But last week, I began to feel really discouraged at kind of everything that's going on, not being able to see people very often anymore, and especially I began to feel discouraged at just seeing all the conflict that I was seeing online, especially on social media. I was seeing all these people who are disagreeing with each other about whether or not lockdown restrictions should be lifted, and whether or not the government's doing a good job, and how the church should be handling this situation. And while people were disagreeing with each other, they began to fight and have all this unnecessary conflict. And I also began to kind of get sucked into that. As I spent too much time on social media, I saw people post things and share things and comment things that I didn't agree with, and I began to have this critical attitude towards people who didn't share the same opinions I did, and it was becoming unhealthy and it was weighing me down. So I decided to delete the social media apps off of my phone, just to kind of get away from that. It wasn't helpful to me. It wasn't a good way to spend my time, and it was also just helping me harbor this resentment towards people that I didn't need. So the past week has been really nice not being on social media that much, to be honest. And I've been thinking about what I did and why I did it. And I was reminded of a verse in Ephesians 4, a couple verses in Ephesians 4, where Paul writes, "Therefore I, the prisoner in the Lord, urge you to live worthy of the calling you have received, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, making every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace." And so now the conversation is beginning to change a little bit. We're seeing some of the restrictions being lifted. We're seeing stores being opened. There's talks of the state of emergency in our province coming to an end. And as the conversation begins to change, as our lives begin to open up again, it's exciting, but there's also lots of opportunity for us to disagree with each other and share our opinions with each other, and all this conflict can get worse. So I would encourage you, as you do that, as you share your opinions online, which is totally fine, as you talk with other people about how things should be done, I would encourage you to remind yourself that we need to interact with people with all humility and gentleness, with patience, and bearing with one another in love. So it's okay to disagree with other people. You're going to disagree with other people. I disagree with people, and that's fine. But we need to do so in a way that is humble and gentle and kind and loving towards those people. Because disagreeing with people doesn't equate to fighting and conflict. And so I believe when we do that as the church, when we share our opinions and we disagree with people, that's fine. But when we do that in a way that is loving and gentle, the church becomes a place that looks much more like Jesus. And that's especially important in a place like social media, where it's very public, where lots of people see what we say and write. And as the church begins to look a lot more like Jesus, those looking in from the outside can be blessed and encouraged to see people that know how to disagree with one another in a way that still shows love and respect to them. And I'll be reminding myself of this as well, just to do so with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, and making every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. Have a great week.